And hello, everybody. Welcome again to yet another Weather Wednesday. I'm Phil Pinarski, anchor of CBS 42 Now, and we are very pleased to do yet another exciting Weather Wednesday lesson with our very own Ashley Gann. We've heard lots and lots about how people used to be able to kind of guess whether or not the weather would be, or specifically the winters, how harsh they would be. I mean, we've even seen some people put all of their trust in a rodent's eyesight, like Groundhog Day. But there is maybe a trick that you're probably not too familiar with. If you were watching the CBS 42 News at 4, I kind of teased to it. But we are talking about persimmons, specifically their seeds and what they can tell us. But again, still very new to this whole idea of a fruit telling us more about the weather. So that's why Ashley's here to sort of break down the wives' tale of the persimmon. So without further ado, I'm going to send it to Ashley now.
Yeah, so Phil, just for starters, a lot of people wonder, well, what is a persimmon? You might have heard about it, especially in the South. It's kind of a Southern terminology that gets thrown around. And you'll notice persimmons grow on trees. This is what it would look like if you saw persimmons in the wild. But they actually kind of favor the size and shape of maybe a cherry tomato. You'll notice these persimmons here. These are actually from Ruffner Mountain. These photos are courtesy of Michelle Reynolds, and we are very grateful for Ruffner Mountain for allowing us to use their photos. But you'll notice, you can fit a handful of persimmons there in the palm of your hand. They tend to have this kind of fleshy, orangish red exterior to them. And if you're wondering, persimmons are edible. That basically just means they're not poisonous, but I'm not sure they're very tasty. I've heard that they have a very bitter flavor, so it's not necessarily a fruit you want to just grab off the tree and take a big bite of.
No, absolutely not. And so we now know what a persimmon is. It's sort of like a little gross cherry tomato, kind of something like that. But very quickly, what is this wives' tale we keep hearing about? I know specifically it has to do with cutting open the fruit itself.
Yeah, so when you have a persimmon like this, if you slice the persimmon, there's little seeds inside, and you can take one of those seeds, and the seeds will actually give us a good look on the inside. So here's a quick look at what the inside of a persimmon seed looks like. Now, you may think, okay, it's got kind of a white, hard center to it, but look a little closer, and the persimmon actually has either a fork, the shape of a spoon, or the shape of a knife right at the center of this seed. And if that shape looks more like a fork, knife, or spoon, that is the telltale sign of potentially how harsh or mild our winters can be. So if you notice here, what does it look like? If you're on Facebook Live with us right now, does this look more like a fork, a knife, a spoon to you? I have to confess. Now again, these are local. So this is our local kind of prediction. These are persimmon seeds from right here at Ruffner Mountain in Birmingham. I see a spoon in this persimmon. This is kind of a spoon shape to me. And then this one looks a little bit more like a knife. So Phil, I know the next question is, what does it all mean though, right? What does a fork, spoon, or a knife represent? Well, if it's a fork, it tends to represent more of a mild winter, as the old weather folklore would say. If it's a spoon, think about scooping snow with a shovel. They say if it's a spoon and a persimmon seed, we could be getting snow. So is this persimmon seed telling us that we're going to get the white stuff this winter? And if it's a knife, it says it's going to be a bitter cold winter that you could literally cut with a knife. So again, knife, bitter cold, spoon, snow, and fork would be more of a mild winter.
Yeah, no, definitely, Ashley. I think I see a little bit of a spoon and a knife, so I'm thinking we're going to get pretty brutal winter if these seeds have anything to do with actually being accurate with the weather. Speaking of these seeds and how they're able to predict it, there is also another little extra trick that people seem to be using as a way of predicting the winters and how harsh they'll be. And you actually have a picture of it right there, Ashley. I'm just going to send it right back over to you and explain everything what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, well, Phil, have you ever seen one of these before?
I have not. Absolutely not. It kind of looks like a pipe cleaner, if I'm being honest. I can't believe this is actually a real thing.
It literally looks like a pipe cleaner that has little legs that crawls around. So this is called a woolly bear worm or caterpillar. I've heard that colloquially in the South, we call it the woolly bear worm. Up north, it's called the caterpillar. So kind of depends maybe geographically where you're from, but otherwise it's the same insect, if you will. So how does this guy help tell us the winter? Well, as the folklore would say, if the ends of the woolly worm are black, the thicker that black is, that means the more severe the winter will be. So if it has more of a brown midsection like we see here, maybe more of a mild winter. Now, I have to confess, I grabbed this picture off the internet. I personally could not go find a woolly worm anywhere that I looked. There was no woolly bear worms on my driveway. I haven't seen one. However, I have seen a few pictures floating around the internet of some local finds. So there's that. So if you look at a woolly bear worm, something else that's very interesting, this woolly bear worm has 13 sections. You see these little sections here. They're kind of prickly, right? But there's actually 13 sections make up the woolly bear worm, and there's 13 weeks of winter. So it's alleged that each section corresponds with a week of winter. So if you also have the woolly bear has a darker front, the face of the woolly bear, even though on this one I can't really tell what's the front or the back, let's be honest. That means maybe the start is more severe and the end would be more severe. So that's another way to look at it. So looking at that, maybe our start to winter could be a bit more severe. So if you see the woolly bear worm crawling around, look at the colors of that. The more the black you see, the more severe the winter. The more brown you see, maybe the more mild winter that we're going to have. So it's just some fun folklore, and we'll see if it actually pans out. And Phil, speaking of that rodent that we know so well, it only has about a 36% success rate. But, you know, we'll leave it to the insects and the persimmon seeds. Maybe they have a better chance.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Ashley. I think we're honestly just going to stick with having you and the rest of the Storm team kind of help us out and stay up to date on all the latest weather happenings. But Ashley, thank you so much for joining us today, really breaking down the persimmons and the woolly bear caterpillars, apparently. Really appreciate it. Really informative stuff, really entertaining. We do have a couple of Facebook comments. A lot of people saying that... hi, Michael. Michael Barr says hello to Ashley and myself. A lot of people are saying that it could be pretty cold this winter. They're expecting a lot of snow. That is according to a lot of the comments we're seeing here. Nobody has seen any woolly bear worms in Alabama as of so far, according to our viewers also, but we will definitely be keeping an eye out for them. Right, Ashley?
That's right. And one neat thing, Phil, and even to our Facebook viewers here, I will say this, you know, before there was all this technology and satellite and radar, people had to rely, and a lot of times it was farmers and sailors that kept very good documents on the types of weather patterns that we saw. The sailors, obviously, weather was very important for them, navigating the seas. And then for farmers, agriculture required a real understanding of rain and sun. So they had to rely on nature to give them clues about the upcoming seasons. So in a lot of ways, you've probably heard that when cows lie down in a pasture, it means rain's coming. But these are observations that farmers and, you know, people who've worked outdoors for many, many years, hundreds of years, have observed. So they're kind of neat. So a lot of our folklore is actually derived from some of these observations, you know, whether they're all 100% accurate, you know, yet to be seen in totality. But I do think it's pretty neat that a lot of these historically have played out in some areas of the world because, again, before technology, we had to rely on a lot of these observations. Nature does tell us a lot. We just have to open our eyes and take a look at it. Phil?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We actually just got a comment from Melissa who says that she has seen 3 completely black woolly bear caterpillars so far this year. So maybe we are due for a pretty traumatic snowstorm, very cold winter. You're not excited about that?
Oh, Phil, it's going to be so cold. Phil, you're used to the cold. I am not. I have southern skin. That means I have very thin skin.
Yes, no, I'm starting to get that way too. After living here the past couple of years, I'm kind of worried about it too. I'm not going to lie. But Ashley, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Everybody who's watching us on Facebook, I would like to recommend everybody heading on over, clicking that link in the description box. You can find a link to Ashley's article where she actually breaks down everything even more, and you'll also be able to find a replay of this Weather Wednesday live stream. Once again, Ashley, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you all so much for tuning into this latest edition of CBS 42 Now. I'm Phil Pinarski, and we hope you have a great rest of your night.